What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And today I have a very special guest, Erick Hellwig, who's on and currently does a Bring in the Backups podcast. And yeah, thank you, Erick, for coming on. And for all the people out there who might not know who you are right now, could you first introduce yourself to the great people out there in the DMV?
My name's Erick Hellwig. Thanks for having me on, man. And I am a struggling comedian who somehow convinced you to have me on your show. That's the best way to introduce myself to people. I've apparently put up the illusion online that I'm a successful comedian, so I love it. So I guess I'll just stick with that. Yeah, man, I'm a comic, actor, writer, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And again, as we talked a little bit off camera about, glad that you're on. And the first thing that I want to talk to you about is bringing the backups in. I wanted to talk to you about, or ask you first about your favorite experience doing the podcast thus far. And maybe if you've even gotten one, a least favorite experience of your entire journey, podcast journey.
Yeah, I'll start with the most positive one I had a couple weeks ago. I interviewed a former quarterback named Jabron Hamden, who actually used to be, was drafted by the Reds or the football team.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No.
Right. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was drafted by the Washington team of football players currently located in DC. And it was my first time having a professional quarterback from the NFL. Usually it's like my dipshit comic friends coming on the show to like pretend like we know sports, which we don't. But getting a real quarterback on there was awesome. And Jabron, who is just like the coolest dude in real life. We talked for like an hour and a half, and he told me stories about like stealing signs from Mike McCarthy and how Jim Zorn called him a pussy one time. Like it was just like all this like insider stuff where I'm like, oh, this is like what it would be like if I actually talked to NFL people all the time. So that was really cool. And it's like the episode of my podcast I keep recommending to people when they're like, which one should I start at? Because the idea of my show is like every episode features a backup quarterback, and like I just focused in on like that city or that fan base or that guy's career. And I've been kind of pointing everybody in the direction of the Jabron one because it's just unique. It's unique to hear his perspective, and usually it's on my show it's like I talk about the backup for the first 5 minutes. I'm like, this guy never got a chance, and then I get into his stats. I'm like, on second thought, this guy sucks. He got every chance he needed. He's terrible. And then, like, by the end, I come somewhere back to, like, if he was just in the right system, he would have won a couple of Super Bowls. Like, I just can't. But with Jabron, he's like, no, I sucked. I sucked. I was bad. I don't know how I ended up in the NFL for 7 years. He was just so refreshingly honest about it. My favorite thing he said on the podcast, he goes, like, because every episode, I always reach out to the quarterback. I've had, like, 24 episodes at this point. And the quarterbacks will talk to me, then I'll send them an episode of the show, and I never hear back. And I'm like, oh, why? I wonder why they're not doing that. And Jabron goes, look, man, every quarterback in the NFL is like a type A sociopath. Like if they were working at a business, they'd be like laying off employees like right the day before Christmas. They're psychos. So if your podcast was called Bring in the Starters Who Were Unfairly Made Backups but should have been starters, then everybody would say yes. But the fact that to come on my show acknowledges that you're a shitty backup quarterback, nobody agrees to it.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a nice way of saying I'll never have another quarterback on the show. So savor the flavor. Jabron Hamden, that was my favorite time doing the podcast. And then the worst time, which I'll leave names out of this, no name policy, but I interviewed a comic at a comedy festival I was doing. And I set up the interview. The guy had like flown in. He headlined 2 shows, 45-minute shows. And then I was like, yeah, I'll just interview him after he does that. And the dude was just like 1-word answers, falling asleep.
Yeah.
At one point he was like, this sucks. And we're like, I think at like 10 minutes in, I go, I have nothing else to say to you. And he goes, how long is this interview going to go? And I was like, it's done now. Stop hitting record. I ended up driving him back to his hotel. He was a perfectly nice guy. I was just like, who sets up an interview at 1:00 in the morning with a dude that just got off a plane? And I remember listening back to 2 minutes of it and then just deleting it, being like, no one can ever hear how bad that interview was. So that was definitely my worst experience. I think I've learned since then to like make sure it's a good time to be talking to somebody, all that, professionalism stuff. But Overall, the podcast has been awesome. I've connected with fans, and now there's like, I did a show in Ohio, in Akron, and people showed up that listened to my podcast, which is fucking insane. I'm like, I've never even been in Ohio before.
Yeah.
I have fans in Ohio. So I remember when I was starting in New York, Aziz Ansari used to like walk around and take people's emails down. Like after shows, he's like 15 years old or whatever doing that. And like people were like, look at this fucking idiot. Huh? Let's go get drunk and hit on chicks that don't like us. Look at him now. So like, I feel like at the age of 35, I'm now like, oh yeah, find fans online. Have a way for people to see your stuff. So, you learn your lessons when you learn them, but the podcast has been a cool exercise in like actually reaching out and meeting people online and, all that stuff.
For sure. That's awesome, man. I'm glad that things are going up right now with the podcast, and you've had some great experiences thus far. I do want to ask you though, before even getting into the next question, which I'm particularly excited to hear your response on. Bring in the backups is the name of the podcast. If we're going to talk about backup quarterbacks, who are some of your favorite NFL players to play the position over the last couple of years, maybe even, extending decades, right?
Well, I'm old. How old are you? Like 15, 16 years old? You're a young guy?
Yeah. 21.
21? All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like old as fuck. I'm like old enough to have had you at a very young age where like the lady would be in jail. But the point is, you're young. So like when you think of a backup quarterback, you're like, I'm going to go old school on you, man. Colt McCoy, like some guy who's like young enough to be my kid brother. But like, I'll go like my favorite players growing up. I'm an Eagles fan. So Coy Detmer was the backup to Donovan McNabb and the field goal holder for the Eagles. He was like my favorite, I'd say, backup. I'll also go like as far as just overall players. I love Brian Dawkins on the Eagles. I love Deuce Staley, who's a coach now in the NFL. I think he was awesome. Sure, the other, like, if I just stick to like guys that like I'd want to have on my podcast, I obviously Doug Flutie, I think, is like the ultimate backup quarterback. Nick Foles, I mean, won the Super Bowl. I mean, how could he not be my favorite?
Yeah.
So like Charlie Batch was also like a way underrated backup back in the day. Played for the he backed up Ben Roethlisberger for like 8 years in Pittsburgh. And he's also a really cool guy, like in real life. He does a lot. He's like a very good person, and he kind of like does this charity that it kind of comes out of like his sister being murdered when he was young. It was the worst podcast I ever did, was the Charlie Batch episode, because I don't really research the guys before I start. I'm just like, that guy will be fun. And then on the podcast, I start Googling him. And for the Charlie Batch episode, I found out in real time that his sister was murdered. And that was like that was like the motivation for his life. I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to like lightly roast this dude who's like avenging his sister's death. So yeah, like that was actually, basically my podcast has been me making every mistake you can make with a podcast in real time and then slowly getting better at it. So if you listen to the first couple episodes, you're going to hear me just like really shitting the bed in every way you can. But anyway, yeah, those are the guys I like. I like the guys that were drafted low, had low expectations, and then never even met those expectations. Those are my guys. The dudes that are just like working a job, like the guys that are like next to somebody like Deion Sanders but they're like, I hope I don't get cut tomorrow or I can't pay my kid's dentist. Like that level of NFL player is like the sweet spot for me.
Okay. And now I know we talked a little bit about this off camera, but I want to get your thoughts here on the channel. So as I said before, I'm a huge America's Got Talent fan. And I remember your audition on season 14 of America's Got Talent very distinctly as a notorious death character. So I have to
you actually saw it?
I saw it like on TV, and then I saw it again on YouTube before this interview tonight. But I want to get your thoughts on what that experience was like, getting to perform stand-up comedy on stage in front of tens of thousands of people live, and obviously millions watching at home. And what are some of the things you learned from that experience that have stuck with you since?
Oh man, it was great. I mean, what did I learn? I learned, like on AGT, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but like it's a reality TV show competition. but you know that they're going to cut things the way that
Yep.
they need for the story of the show. So the thing I learned was to just be cool and nice to everybody, because you never know who somebody can be. Because when I went on that show, that was somebody gave me that advice. They were like, look, man, if you're a dick or you're like a diva in any way, like they can just take footage of you like taking a dump, being like, I'm so scared, and like that'll make the show. So if you're like that, then like they can screw you over. But if you're cool and you're nice to everybody, like they try to hook you up, like they try to help you. Like nobody's getting paid to be there as far as like the acts go.
Yeah.
And my act was definitely like an act to get X. Like that was made very clear to me. Like you will not be winning this show. So that's what I was. It's like I went in there and I was just like very positive and had like I told myself early on, for those that know the character, I'm not recognizable as the character. Like my voice is different. I have full face makeup and a cloak and a hood. So it's not even like people would know it was me. So I just told myself, be the character, be honest, and like if you stick with that, that'll be what is useful for them when they're editing stuff. And so they ended up like, I literally could have been on that show for 5 seconds. Like I thought it was going to be like, and then this guy bombed, and then I'm out. But they gave me like 7 minutes. I went commercial to commercial, just my character. They shot all this backstory for me. I actually came in the day before I was on the show just to shoot stuff around the auditorium with everybody, with their little film crew. And all of that just came from being like nice and like meeting the video production team. And like, there's so many people running around at that show. It's like, it would have been easy. And I think if I was a younger comedian to just be like, you know, I don't know how to say this, but like just focused on my own shit and not worried about other people. But you get older, you just realize like it's bigger than you. And I felt like because I came in with a good attitude, they were like, let's hook this guy up. Like, let's really have his character on camera a lot. And I ended up getting a lot career-wise out of that experience that I was not really banking on having. Like, I thought it was going to be just like I got this character death. It wouldn't it be funny if you see him for 3 seconds on America's Got Talent? That'll be hilarious. I didn't think like I'd have like people showing up to my stand-up shows being like, is that Death? Were you Death? Like, I didn't know that was coming from it. But you're right. It was like they took care of me because I think I was professional going in. So that was, if there's something to learn from it, it's that. It's like, put your best foot forward all the time. Like, be just cool and chill and nail your shit, and it'll come back to you.
Yeah. And onto the sports topics now. Can correct me if I'm wrong, but I did see on the Ravens video that you direct messaged me. I did see a UMD shirt that you were wearing, so I'm assuming that you went to the University of Maryland, or you were a big.
I did not, man. I just like that old school helmet that the Terps had, where you used to say Terps on the side. So I bought the shirt. Now, look, I have family members that went to Maryland. I love Maryland football. Like it's like my third favorite team. So I love college football. I could talk about it the whole interview.
Okay.
But I went to Christopher Newport University in Southern Virginia. You should know that. You said you're in. Should I say where you're from? Should I not say?
It's fine. I'm from Nova, but like, isn't Christian Newport like down south?
Christopher Newport, yeah, it's like right where ODU is. It's like kind of by Virginia Beach.
Okay.
I can't believe you know more about Christopher Newport, man. That was like when I was growing up. That was like the school people went to when they were too dumb to go to UVA. They would either go to like Radford or CNU, but I guess nobody knows about. You really don't know about CNU?
I mean, I do, but like I know more about like the bigger schools, I guess, like Virginia Tech as well, not just UVA, but Virginia Tech and VCU and even William & Mary as well. So I do know some things about Virginia schools.
Hang on, what school you go to in Chicago?
U Chicago.
Oh, isn't that like a fucking? You're smart.
I mean,
you're smart, and that's why you don't know about CNU, because CNU is for dumb kids. That's why.
I wouldn't say that. No.
We got to the bottom of this.
But I mean,
I'm sorry. You go.
No, it doesn't really change the next question that I'm gonna ask, because you did say that you do like UMD football. So I did want to ask you about the current state of the University of Maryland football team under Coach Loxley as he enters his third season as head coach of the team? I mean, do you have any thoughts on potentially Maryland being on the come up and actually producing some winning seasons over the next couple of years?
No, it's never going to happen. Leave the fucking Big Ten right now. You will get your ass kicked every year. Leave. Go be in the AAC or the ACC. Just go be in one of the lesser places. They're never going to compete ever. It's over. I mean, all they can do is make that big ass flag on their helmet bigger and bigger. Like they could just keep trying to make their uniforms more boisterous and loud. Yeah. It'll never account for the fact that their recruiting numbers, they're like 50th or 60th in the country on like average recruits, which, you know, if you were in a lesser Power 5 conference, or like I said, the AAC, which is essentially like Power 5 -1, it could be Power 6 at this point. I think they're better than the AAC or the ACC. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But like, when you're in the Big Ten, that puts you at like, who's worse than them? Rutgers? Like, you're just so behind the 8 ball, unless you're going to do some crazy shit, like start running the triple option. You're like, the triple option is what every bad team should do in those big conferences. It's like basically just kneel on the ball first and second down and hope the other team fumbles once. And that's how you win the game. But like, unless you're going to try to do that, I don't know what coach is going to come in and install a pro offense system that's going to compete with better athletes running the same system. So I feel like Maryland's just, it's in that no man's land unless like, I don't know, unless they get some sort of like transcending player that all of a sudden is going to make recruits want to come to Maryland over these other schools. But yeah. I just don't see that happening. Like, I wish I could be more optimistic, but yeah, my goal would be like, go to a lesser conference, get more wins under your belt, and then like have a miracle season where you upset 2 teams and especially once they get that 12-team playoff going, it's like, when are they not going to lose at least 4 games every season? Like when?
I mean, if they couldn't win anything really with Stephon Diggs as their starting receiver and some good players that have been on the team in years past, then I mean, it's going to be tough. And I will say though, at least Maryland has a little winning streak going with Texas, right? And Texas and obviously Oklahoma, right? Joined the SEC reportedly today. So I mean, you talked about being a fan of college football. SEC is absolutely stacked, man.
It is. I'll be honest, for me, I enjoy, this is because I just like underdog so much. Mm-hmm. I get really into like the lesser, like I watch Sunbelt football so much. Like I love the Sunbelt. I love the MAC. I love the Mountain West. Like I like teams that you're like, oh yeah, that's right. There is a team in Hawaii. Like those are my favorite. Because the SEC teams, I'm like, we kind of know.
Yeah.
We know what's going to happen. Like Alabama's going to, Alabama. Nobody's going to unseat Clemson in the ACC. Ohio State always gets preferential treatment, which sucks. It's like, until they get that 12-game playoff going, and hopefully I want it to one day be a 16. I'd love it that every conference winner gets in. That's what I think would be the coolest thing that could happen. But until they get to that, to me, it makes the Power 5 less watchable because I feel like I'm watching a preordained thing versus, in the MAC, Ball State could go on a run. You can see Ball State do some crazy shit. How about Eastern Michigan? They got a gray field. Seen that ugly ass gray field in Eastern Michigan? There's cool stuff happening in college football. A lot of schools that still have like tracks running around the field because they're broke. Like those schools, I'm telling you, like it's some of the best football, better than the NFL. Like it's like really engaging stuff. And every year there's so much parity with it because all the teams are so evenly matched. I don't know. To me, that's like, when I say I love college football, that's what I live for. Like I watch teams like Rice. Can Rice keep it under a 30-point deficit at halftime against Texas? That's like a big thing for me.
Okay.
This is not resonating with you at all. You're just nodding along like I'm like you invited a sociopath on your show.
No.
You're like, yeah, you fucking weird.
No, I mean it's cool. It's cool to hear. I mean, this has been said throughout the history, relatively short history of this channel, but outside of the DMV, I am a huge Bama fan. So I am not a huge college football fan in the sense that like I'll watch any and every single team, but I get where you're coming from, and I definitely love that college football, you know, I guess like the amateurism aspect of college football is kind of cool, and seeing like players just put, I don't know, their bodies on the line for a shared cause, and like, you know, they're not getting paid millions and millions of dollars and stuff. And like, well, I think college players should get paid. It's there is some sense of like amateurism that I do kind of enjoy in college football.
Yeah,
and I do want to get to this next question, which bounces off of what you said earlier about you wanting a 16 game tournament really ultimately for college football. Do you think that will devalue like the college football season at all? Like, because I know a lot of coaches, especially college football coaches out there, don't want that to happen. One, because they just don't want it. And then two, they also have a legitimate reason in the sense that like they feel like the college football season will be devalued in a sense. Do you believe that might be the case?
Yeah, and I hope that happens. I hope they devalue, because like, look, what's the bet? Here's my question. What is to you?
Yeah,
I would ask you, what is the best playoff in college or professional sports? What's the best playoff?
the best playoff.
The fact that this is taking longer than 3 seconds is infuriating to me.
I would say
There's
NFL.
one answer.
For me, it's NFL. Yes,
Dude,
it's a one-game tournament.
The answer is March Madness. How are you not saying March Madness in college? That is clearly the best.
March Madness is a close second. It's a close second.
Okay, the NFL is a distant second to the. Okay, what was this? What was the 16th seed? Was it like University of Baltimore County, Maryland?
Yeah,
Golden
UMBC.
Retrievers beat UVA in that game. Me, I think about that having sex years later. That is the greatest thing that can happen in sports, are these insane upsets. And so the fact that college football has a system now, hopefully not for much longer, a system where a bunch of dudes at computers go, yeah, this team's better anyway, and they don't have to go beat the other team. That to me is so, it like offends my competitive nature, you know, like UFC should get to play Alabama and get their ass kicked, because why not? And the truth is like with March Madness, you're right. The regular season is devalued. I'll watch the rivalry games, but I don't give a shit who wins the ACC. I'm going to start watching when the tournament starts. But you could still, as long as they did a tournament, let's say they did 16 teams in college football and gave home games. So Alabama still has to, you know, you're going to play at home against, you know, whoever, fucking Louisiana Raging Cajuns, and beat them by 50 in the first round. It's not like they're going to, the big schools are still going to get their money. They're still going to get an extra home game, or in Alabama's case, probably 2 or 3 home games before you get to the Final Four. So to me, I'm like, it's one of those things where I think we're just so used to it. We're just so used to people saying, well, these are clearly the best 2 teams, so that should be the championship, or these are clearly the top 4. I think we're just used to it, so we don't see it as crazy. But if you put it in any other sport, if the NFL did that, you'd be like, what are we watching? Why aren't the playoffs here? You'd be missing the playoffs and furious that they're gone. So yeah, that's my thought. Like, college football's has to challenge the in the box thinking that they've had with that, because like I said, that would create parity. If you had a 16 team playoff, all of a sudden Marshall, the Thundering Herd at Marshall, have a shot. They just got to be better than the 10 other shitty teams in the fucking wherever they are. I don't even know where they are. Yeah. So like they're somewhere in West Virginia, like they're in the hills. I don't know. So like, if you do that, like coaches would stay at those smaller schools longer. Like now with the NIL, it's like players on those teams might be able to make more money through their own image and likeness. If like you're able to, oh my God, now it means something to be undefeated at UCF or Air Force or whatever pick the non-Power 5 team. Boise State would be another one that's had these runs where they've been good for 3 or 4 years and should be getting an opportunity to at least play against a team like Clemson or Ohio State or Alabama. Yeah. I feel like it would be good for the sport, and it would add to the value of the national championships that your team has. If you're like, yeah, we won 3 national championships and we beat the shit out of all the fucking like, crappy teams that won their conferences. So you can't say that we didn't do it. It's like, I don't know. I'm repeating myself over and over again because I'm very passionate. I'm an Army football fan. I want Army. I want that triple option, baby.
You just talked about how the triple option usually goes to the teams, or usually is run by the teams that are pretty lackluster, to say the least. So
talentless. It's talentless football. It's the best. It's like watching a game like straight out of the 1940s. Like whenever they throw a pass, you can hear the announcers being like, "Oh my God, look at this! They've scored on the forward pass." Like I'm telling you, it's such a throwback.
Yeah.
But it so stands out from what the other team is trying to do. Like I think last year or it was 2 years ago when Army was number 1 in rushing, their time of possession was like 43 minutes a game, which is crazy. It's like you're playing keep away. It's not even like, it's like a different sport. But anyway, to me, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why more teams don't do that when you're that much worse talent-wise than the other team. You got to figure out something, man. You got to do like some rookie of the year, hide the balls crap. You got to start thinking outside the box. So yeah, anyway, I don't know if do you remember when Citadel was tied with Alabama at halftime like 3 years ago?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I think about that every night when I'm going to sleep. That was so great. I want more of that. More of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get where you're coming from. It's just that I do like the college football season. I do like it being, pretty short and pretty like every single week matters. And I think we get that a lot with the NFL and stuff. So, but I definitely get where you're coming from. I do want to ask you though, because you mentioned at the top how you are an Eagles fan, and I'm currently repping Washington football team gear. I'm a huge Washington football team fan, of course, and probably a lot of people out there who are watching this are huge Washington football team fans. And I do want to ask you your thoughts on the NFC East and whether you think Washington will repeat as division champs, and what do you think the Eagles' chances are in this division this year? Do you think Jalen Hurts is the guy at quarterback, or do you think that eventually you guys will be searching for another quarterback just like us?
Please don't trade for Deshaun Watson. That's all I hope for the Eagles. I hope
you don't want that, okay?
Fuck no. I don't want
Everything's cleared up. You don't want that.
Everything's cleared up. How many checks does this dude got to write? Come on. No, I don't want that dude. Listen, I was when the Eagles got Vic, I was like, you know what? The man served his time.
Yep.
Welcome him back in. And look, I have a pit bull. Okay. I love dogs, but I was like, the dude went to jail. Like he paid his debt and now he's welcome back. And I fucking loved Michael Vick too, you know? I used to do a bit on stage where I'm not gonna do the whole bit, but the core of it was I would go like, look, I get why people don't like Michael Vick. On one hand, like he abused and tortured and murdered dogs, but on the other hand, he's really fast. So welcome aboard. He was awesome. I loved having him on the team. So like the real reason I don't want Deshaun is because I'm invested in Jalen and I want to see him get an actual full season to go and see what happens when the dude develops, because to me, he's like the anti Carson Wentz. And I'm going to call Carson Wentz a pussy right now. And that's a football pussy, which is to say way tougher than me, a million times tougher than me and you combined. But for a football player, big pussy. And Jalen Hurts has already done the thing that I don't think Carson Wentz had the mettle to do, which is get benched, take it, be a backup, be a team guy, then go, I'm leaving. And I remember when he went to Oklahoma, they were like, yeah, but he can't throw. What's he going to do in Lincoln Riley's offense? How about be second in the fucking college football and passing, bitches? The dude taught himself along with the coaching staff at Oklahoma, the skill that he was lacking in Alabama, that Alabama didn't even probably have interest in developing in him. So that to me was like, okay, that's the quality in a quarterback that matters, is like that kind of resolve, that kind of toughness, that kind of willingness and ability to adapt. That's what you need in the NFL. The guys that stand on their haunches and think, well, I'm already great, I don't need to keep working. Those are the guys that burn out. Those are the guys that have one or two good seasons like Carson Wentz and then can't handle the adversity. This dude's already proved, Jalen Hurts, that he can handle adversity extremely well. like at a master level.
Oh,
So
leader.
exactly, a true leader. He's one of those guys you can just tell by the way the team talks that like he's one of those guys that people want to run through a brick wall for. So let's not overcomplicate it. Like, give him a year. We gave McNabb a year in a couple years in 98, 99, where the Eagles still suck, but they let him grow. Like, that's what you got to do. You have to have, we're not European football here. We're not going to get relegated down to a lower league if we suck for 2 years. But if we can actually find a guy that's our guy, then, that's years of success, hopefully. So Eagles are not going to win the division. I think we're going to be the last place. I'd love to be wrong. Prove me wrong. But no, I love Jalen Hurts. I'm all aboard. I'm assuming as an Alabama guy, you feel the same way. Like, I think he's great. I thought it was a great draft pick.
Okay.
And also, you guys are going to win the division.
Okay. You don't
That
think the
defense-
Giants or the Cowboys?
The Giants. Dude,
I mean,
I'm playing quarterback for the Giants. No, the Giants aren't going anywhere with Daniel Jones. The Giants will do really well if they can design 3 or 4 plays a game where Daniel Jones just runs in a straight line down the field. But aside from that, he sucks. They're not going anywhere. I think the Cowboys are going to challenge you guys.
Okay.
But I don't know. There's something about that big star in your helmet that makes you, wilt in the fourth quarter.
Accident waiting to happen, right? As good old Stephen A. always says.
I think your guys' defense is sick. You got Fitzmagic, and when he inevitably starts sucking, Heineke behind him showed a lot in that playoff game. So I'm like, I like both quarterbacks that you guys got going. I'm sure you'll end up using both throughout the season. So I think I would be excited if I was a Washington Football Players Association of athletes currently representing the state of whatever. You get it.
Future state of Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe. Taxation without representation, right?
Yeah.
Call back to the license plates from when I was in high school. Ooh, yeah.
So I want to end this really fun interview that we have going on the NBA, and I want to get your thoughts on a couple of issues with the NBA right now. First and foremost, thoughts on the Milwaukee Bucks securing the NBA championship a mere 50 years after they won their last one. And also, because this is especially pertinent to Wizards fans right here in the DMV, do you see a Russell Westbrook Wizards Lakers trade actually happening anytime soon?
Interesting. You think Westbrook to the Lakers?
I mean, there have been rumors.
Who were they getting back? Just draft picks?
Draft picks, and I hate the trade packages that I've seen online, but I've heard Kyle Kuzma, Taylor Horton Tucker, a couple of first round picks. KCP has also been thrown in some trade packages as well. So that's what I've heard. I hate the packages, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on maybe Russell Westbrook potentially being on the move, or do you think
I would trade Russell Westbrook to any team that will trade back to the Wizards their old name, the Bullets. If you can do that, I'll take it. You can have the whole team.
Yeah.
Can we just not be called the Wizards anymore? I mean, that's rough. You guys know that's rough. Yeah. I think you should maybe rename the football team the Wizards and have 2 sets of Wizards. You can have the basketball Wizards and the football Wizards. It's a name for children. It's really dumb. I don't like it. As far as Russell Westbrook goes for you guys, I mean, it's tough because I don't know how much of a franchise building block he is.
Yeah.
But the way he plays is so fucking likable and so relatable to people. Because it's like, yeah, he's mad. I like that there's one player in the NBA that doesn't shake hands right after he fucking loses. That's like, yeah, I'm pissed I lost and I'm going to bite your face off even if I know you. Like, I like that. That's more like me. That's like I said, I have a pit bull. All right. That's my mentality. And like when I was an athlete in high school, that's how I was too. So I really love that about Russell Westbrook. And, I'm not as up on the NBA trade rumors, I guess, as you are. So like, I don't know if they can get equal value for him, and he is aging and whatever, but from a pure fan perspective, I would love to have him. I would love to have him on my team. I'm a Sixers fan. I mean, talk about a soft team.
Ben
I mean, the
Simmons.
whole Ben Simmons, like not, yeah, I can't. You said we have to go soon, but I mean, God damn it. That was really a thing that real hurt. I was not happy.
Yeah.
And to think about like having like Russell Westbrook would be a terrible fit on the Sixers, but I almost wanted them to trade for him just to say, fuck you. And just to have a team that's tough. I'd rather lose taking the shot than win passing it up, which is what, that one play that everybody talks about with Simmons is going to just live in, replay in my mind. So yeah, I respect that part about Russell's game and think it's so unique in the game now. I don't think it would have been 30 years ago, like in the time of like Michael Jordan and the way that dude would get himself psyched up for games. To me, I think Russell Westbrook's the only dude that I see now that does something similar, which is like really get mad.
Kevin Garnett, maybe a little bit. I mean,
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in his heyday, Garnett would get pissed on the court. Yeah, I like that about him. What was the first question you asked? It was something
the Milwaukee Bucks and your thoughts on them securing that NBA championship win this week.
Oh yeah, who gives a shit? I mean, whatever. Good for them, I guess. Good for Milwaukee. How many people live in Milwaukee? Like 35? I mean, good. I'm happy I'm always happy when a small city wins. I was kind of rooting for Phoenix just because their uniforms. Whenever I don't know the teams that well, I just go for the team with the ugliest color scheme. I'm like bright orange and purple with a big sun exploding. I'll take that. That's why I like the Padres in baseball. Their colors are poop and piss. I mean, you had me at poop and piss. So like unique color schemes. I don't even want to talk sports. I want to talk about the Wizards' name. Seriously, what are we doing? When's that changing? You've got to have a top 3 when the Wizards go away. What would you want it to be?
I mean, the Bullets, there's just so much history with that name, but at the same time, I understand, like,
Here's the thing. Let me say something.
Yeah.
At the time, they took it away because there was it was the highest shooting in the country or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is what the
hasn't
city
gone down that much. Yes.
It hasn't gone. Yeah, but it's what the city was known for, which makes it the perfect name. Like if that's what's going on, to me, I'm like, then be the Bullets, and you could pass that along to every other. Like Milwaukee should be like the fat dudes eating cheese. Like that's what you're known for. Fat, drunk men, right? They have beer and cheese in Milwaukee.
Yep.
So I'm all for fitting team names. And also I just think Bullets was like, to me, it's weird. I know it's Bullets, but it made me think of speed. I was like, oh, they're fast. They're like darting around the court.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like what it was bringing up when I was a kid watching them. And now they wouldn't go back to Bullets, but what about like Monuments would be cool because they're tall. The Mons, you could call them the Mons. Going to the Mons game tonight.
Hard pass right there.
Hard pass on Mons. Come on. Okay, how about the it's got to be something decent. What are it's the Capitals and the Nationals are good. Mm-hmm. So if you just do like a 4-way thing with your teams and have like a thing that connects, like it should all be like the Lobbyist.
See, I feel like we gotta. I don't really have a problem with that name, but I feel like we gotta. Yeah, I feel like we gotta drift off, politics with when it comes to sports fans here, the DFB. But
you don't think people want more politics in sports? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think one of the coolest. I'm not even answering your question anymore. Sorry to take over your show. You know how Pittsburgh has the Penguins, the Steelers, and the Pirates, and they're all the same color.
Yeah,
like they're all black and yellow, and I'm like, okay, that is so cool because then you only gotta buy one shirt.
But
you go to all the games.
But here in DC though, like I get that, and I think we get with the Capitals and Nationals for sure. I mean, the red is definitely like part of both color schemes, red, white, and blue as well. I would just say here, just to, I guess, like respond to that. With the Washington football team, the Redskins, whatever you want to call them, burgundy and gold. I mean, if you take away the burgundy and gold, right, for an organization that's been around for 80 plus years, I mean, you want to talk about older fans, just basically removing themselves from the fan base, that's the end right there. Like for a lot of fans out there.
I think you're right. And I think the Washington football team gets set aside. I think that's a good point. But the Wizards have already changed to the other, like they already, because remember they were like that ugly, they were like the teal. Like remember when Jordan perked the dunk when he came back, that color, that's gone.
Arena stays. Yep.
Yeah. Agent Zero, man. Yeah. Love Gilbert. No, I think the Wizards are preparing. I think in like the next 2 years, you're going to be like, I think they're going to have a new name, the Sentinels, something. I think it'll be something that fits a little bit with Nationals, Capitals, third thing.
Yeah.
And whatever Washington decides to be, apparently like somebody bought all the websites or something for the names. And now
he actually follows me, on Twitter or DMVSportsZone. Yeah. So you might see this.
How dumb do you have to be? That's how like cocky Daniel Snyder was that he was never going to have to change a name. It's like he didn't even bother to secure the rights when clearly the name was going to have to change.
And that's why the Indians got their name changed so quickly, right? Because they probably prepared to do so, right? In case, there was the day where they actually had to change the name and stuff. So, no, I definitely agree with you on that point.
Yeah. I do hope the Redskins, oh God, sorry. It's just weird. It's Washington football team is too many syllables. I don't have all day to be trying to say a team that plays.
Just say WFT.
WFT, the team. That's what all my whole family are fans of the team.
Yeah.
And so that's what they've been saying. And I guess I'll latch onto that. But yeah, I hope you guys get a name that's cool, that you can still sing your song, like the song you guys have.
Yeah.
Little song.
Hail to the
Hail to the team of player. I'm sorry, I don't mean to tease you guys, but it's rough not having a team name.
Yeah. I mean, and we're DC fans. I mean, you bashed the Wizards already. I mean, we already went through this before, so it's a lot. It's just a lot to deal with. But I will say this, Eric, I appreciate you for coming on. This was a very great interview. Had a lot of fun on this interview, so I appreciate you for coming on. And yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Erick's content thus far, I'll make sure to include it in the description of this YouTube video that we uploaded very soon. And if you can, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel, where we try to post fire content on here as much as possible. Also, go follow our Instagram and Twitter page, all lowercase DMV Sports Zone. Try to post some great content on there as well. Make sure to check out the big time live stream that we had last night with two of the biggest Washington football team YouTubers, the real Ed Oliver and Louis T. But yeah, Eric, is there anything else you wanna plug before we sign off tonight?
Louis T stabbed me in high school. That guy's terrible. He's a terrible person. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure he's great. No, just check out the podcast. And I would say, like, if this is, I mean, do you guys consider yourselves like a Ravens channel too? Because you're doing Maryland.
We do some Ravens content on here and also on our Twitter page. But yeah,
great. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you're gonna check out my podcast, I've got the Anthony Wright episode that I think I sent you guys. I did a Rex Grossman episode where I talk a lot about DC sports. And then obviously the Jabron episode where he was drafted by Washington in 2003. So those are good jumping off points. If you want to check out my podcast, you can check out the teams you got your fan base already likes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Appreciate that. And that's it, guys. See you on the next one. Have a great night. And I mean, we got the Olympics starting today. This video might be uploaded tomorrow, Saturday. So the Olympics will probably have started by the time you watch this, but got some great sports going on over the next couple of weeks. But see you guys on the next video. Peace.